So welcome everybody to the third session in this series. Today we're going to be talking about driving results and measuring performance on Instagram. So we spent the last couple days talking about the foundational things, optimizing your profile, getting everything set up for success. Yesterday we talked about content strategies, the types of visuals that work. We talked about feeds, stories, reels. We talked about hashtags. So today we'll talk a little bit more about what to actually do with that. Now that you know how to make a pretty picture, what is it going to do for you? So we'll talk about driving leads, driving website traffic, and then how to measure your insights to see what's actually working for you. So thank you all so much for making sure you watch those other two videos as well, because they will lead into what we are talking about today. Even if you're here live, make sure you go back and watch those additional videos that we did the last couple of days. So we're going to dive right in. We got lots of things to talk about. As we get started, a reminder, if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. We can come back and answer those questions at the end. And if you have questions about anything we didn't cover, we can always put those in there as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is leads, driving leads. This came up in the Q&A yesterday about what type of content is best for driving leads and that sort of thing. So let's talk about that in a little bit more detail today. So one of the things I want to point out is the difference between links, meaning kind of the link in bio, and your email. So there's the option where someone can choose that contact button and email you. We talked about setting that all up on Monday. These are two different things, and they should be treated differently, and they have two different impacts. So I want you to understand the difference between the two of these before we start talking about the actual lead generation. When it comes to that link in bio, this is where you want to send people when you want to collect their traffic. So those opt-in pages, the landing pages, if you're sending them to your website to watch a video, those sorts of things. Link in bio is something where you can send them to a destination where there is an opt-in. They can actually say, yes, I want to sign up for that newsletter. Yes, I want this free download, and I will give you my email in exchange. When you do that process, you can put them on your email list because they have opted in. If somebody sends you an email and they hit the contact button and their email comes directly to your inbox, that does not give you permission to put them on your email list. That's a violation of pretty much every spam law in the world, especially in North America and the US. So, but just by getting their email does not mean you can put them on your email list. But it does mean you have immediate communication. They're literally in your inbox. They're asking you questions. This is going to be even better for more so than the lead generation, but the actual, sales conversion, the actual client signature type thing. So they're different functions, both equally valuable, just depending on what your goal is. Are you looking to build the list? You want to use a link in bio. Are you trying to get direct communication with your audience? Email is where you want to focus. So just keep that difference in mind as you're working on your various calls to actions and things that you're asking your audience to do in terms of where you're driving that action. All right, so when it comes to driving leads, getting people over to your website, getting them to sign up for things, what type of content is best? Well, all things related to being that resource. We talked a lot about this, about creating that resourceful-based content, those tips, the tutorials, the referrals, all of that type of content. So when it comes to your website, getting people to your website, blog posts. If you are not creating blog posts, it's worth considering looking into that. It's a way to have fresh organic content on your website, which helps with SEO and Google rankings, but it's a way to drive people to your website. So if you've got a great post about, here are some, top 10 seasonal decor tips, we have a blog post up on our website. They're going to go to that link in bio. They're going to go to your blog. Now they're on your website where you have your MLS listings, where you have more about Meet the Team, where you have other things you may want them to look into. So the blog is a way to get them to your website. News and local updates. Again, we talked a lot about this in the last couple of days, but if there's new construction going on, if there's, things happening in your community, if there's things happening in the real estate space in terms of, market shifts or valuations of things, those are things that are newsworthy that people want to know about. And again, if you have that information that you can drive people to, that can help get those referrals. Local activities, we talked about that as well, things going on in your local community, even if it's just that kind of, it's an Easter event going on, or there's a a picnic at the park in the summer. Those are things people want to know, and that's going to drive traffic. Again, if you can put this in a blog post type environment, something on your website, it's a great way to get people over to your website. New construction information updates, what that means. We talked about this as well. Things like, how does that impact traffic? How's that going to impact property values? Those sorts of things are valuable that people want to know more about. Those home value surveys, if you're having people complete those, that's a great way to get people, again, from Instagram over to your site to complete those surveys. And of course, your new home listings. If you've got new listings coming on the market, you can obviously drive the traffic over to those listings on your website as well. So all of these different types of content are great ways to advertise, get people excited about the topic on Instagram, and then go click the link in bio and be able to get over and read that article, find that listing, whatever it is. But now you have them on your website. Now you're able to retarget that traffic. Now you're able to get them on your email list, that sort of thing, as you build those leads. All right, so what can we do to actually drive the traffic and the leads? What does that look like when it comes to creating your content on Instagram? Well, there's a few things you can do. We talked about this briefly yesterday, but I want to dive in this deeper here today, is the link sticker for stories. So all professional accounts, whether you are a business account or a creator account, have the option to add the link sticker. There's no limitation with how many followers you have or that sort of thing. So what you can do is you create your story like you normally would, and then you go to the sticker tab, which is the square smiley face. You choose the link sticker, and you can put it to any URL, any destination. So you can have it to any, page on your website. It can be to your YouTube channel. It can be to one of those surveys. It can be to your blog post. It can be to any destination you want it to go to. But the key here is to customize the link text. So in this case, I was saying watch video. I was sending them to a YouTube video. So if I don't customize that text, it'll just say youtube.com. Or if I was to send somebody to my blog, it's just going to say jenstrends.com. It's not going to have any other context. And that can be kind of confusing in terms of, well, what am I going to get? Where am I going? Like, what am I expected to do? Am I supposed to click on this or not? It helps if you can customize that link text with a call to action. So you can see in this case, I said watch video. And then I'm pointing to it. And a lot of times I'll add GIFs and animation, the little clicky mouse. I'll do little fireworks things, anything to draw attention to that sticker and encourage them to click on it. That will increase the conversions of people actually clicking on it and following through. Now, again, this is great for that lead generation. It's great for those opt-ins, getting people to, sign up for your newsletter, getting people to fill out that survey, read your latest blog posts, all those things we just talked about in the previous couple slides. This is how you get them there from your Instagram stories. It's a really great way to actually get them from Instagram to your website. Super easy, one click, and they're at that destination. So definitely make use of this. If you're not actively using the link sticker, this is one of my biggest tips for right now in terms of just business case in general, but especially for lead generation. You definitely want to start looking into ways that you can actively use the link sticker with your content, with your Instagram stories strategy. When it comes to your feed post, you want to look at writing really good captions. We talked about some of the captions and things you can say in captions yesterday, but think about how you want those calls to action to look as well. A lot of these are going to be something like, click the link in bio, but that doesn't have to be the only type of call to action. But you can see this example I have over on the left is one about my blog post. And so I said, here's what the blog post is about, blah, 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 blah. And then I go, so head over to the link in my bio to read all the details if you're still wondering what really goes on here on Instagram. So it's not a bold, in your face call to action. It's very conversational mixed in with the rest of the caption, or you could pull it out and really be like, click link in bio to read now. But that's a simple, basic call to action. This one in the middle from Tanya, I like this one for a specific reason, because she's a very long caption here. And so what she's saying is easy peasy way to join, just click the link in my bio. But then she mentions herself again. And the reason this matters is because when you have that really long caption, if someone has to scroll back up to get to your username to go to your link in bio, this sounds crazy, but it decreases the chances that they're going to actually follow through, because it's like an extra step. They have to scroll back and then they have to click on it. The easier you can make things on people, the more it increases your conversion. So in this case, by mentioning herself, she's literally saying, just click on the link in my bio. And then by mentioning herself, you can just click right there, click on the link, and she's made it one step easier to get people to that link in bio. So if you're writing those really long captions, keep that in mind as a strategy to help generate a few more of those link clicks. And then this example here is another one. This one's from Morgan here in San Diego. And I do this a lot with some of my calls to action as well. And it's a great way, something we talked about in the questions follow-up yesterday, and we'll talk more about DMs later today. But instead of doing link in bio, ask for a direct message, ask for that DM. So she said in this case, if you're looking to list your home for sale and don't know where to begin, let's connect, DM me to start. So she's literally saying, if you have a question, just message me. A lot of times I will do this with my newsletter. So I'll be like, are you on the newsletter? If not, send me a DM and I'll give you the link. So rather than sending them to the link in bio where they then click on the option to opt in, I have them in my direct message. And then I can literally be like, oh, great, I'm so glad you want to sign up. Here's the link. And it's a quick, easy way, but it opens up that dialogue. We now have an open inbox between me and that audience to be able to have any additional conversation. So a DM is a great way to really nurture the relationships, to really build out those relationships and that staging of the I want to say, I'm literally forgetting the word, fostering the relationship for the long term, because we talked about this the other day with, the buying window being relatively short, that if you wanted to keep someone on your list for 3 years, you want to get them when they're ready to buy and it's years down the road, building those DM strategies is a really good way to do that. So having that as your call to action is a valuable way to use your calls to action. So when it comes to your calls to action, some things to think about: mix up your types of calls to action. So obviously I just mentioned the link in bio. That's probably the most common one. You can also do something like tagging someone in the comments. Totally okay. That does not violate any rules or regulations on Instagram. But you could say, tag someone in the comment below who would find this tip helpful. So for example, we talked yesterday about the pumpkin tip. Now granted, that was an Instagram story, but let's say that had been a feed post. Then, you could turn around and be like, okay, great. Here's my tips. Here's how you keep your pumpkins lasting longer. Tag someone in the comments below who would find this tip helpful. That could be your call to action. Your call to action could be send me an email. And so they can go to that contact button and send you an email. That gets them right into your inbox to ask you those questions or get that additional information. Sending a DM, all those sorts of things. If your calls to action is always the same, if you're always just saying, go ahead and click that link in bio, people start to get a little tired of it. And they start to be like, well, I don't want to go click on the link in the bio. So if you mix it up and put in some of those other options, it can kind of help keep that engagement up. I mentioned one of my favorite ones is to use the send me a DM instead of the link in bio. And also, do not put a call to action in every single Instagram post. We do not want to overwhelm our audience with ask, 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 ask. And even if you're giving with that call to action, you're asking them to do something by following that call to action. It can be overwhelming and it can turn them off when you really want them to follow through on something. So keep those calls to action for the click the link in the bio, send me a DM, send me an email, any of those sorts of things. Save those for when you really want to drive that traffic, when you really want to drive that type of engagement. Don't do it on every single post. So I mentioned about sliding into the DMs, about using that DM strategy. Here's why this is so valuable. And it's because it opens up a private dialogue, that private conversation. When someone replies to your Instagram story, it opens up a DM. It opens up that inbox, right? So it's like, you don't have to go knock on their door. They're literally opening the door for you to come in and have a conversation with them. So work on creating story content that encourages those types of responses. Put up something that's quirky and funny, and people will throw up that quick reply laughing emoji. That opens up a direct message. If you ask questions, or make a funny statement. A couple weeks ago, I had put, this is the most Monday-y or the most Monday-ish Monday ever, or something like that. And it blew up my DMs with people being like, girl, I feel you. Is it a full moon? And blah, blah, blah. Like all these conversations start happening in the DMs when you have that kind of conversational, relatable story content. And once they're in the DMs, now you can start having that dialogue and conversation. So if someone does the laughing face emoji or the heart eye emoji response, you can just double tap to like, or you can engage in conversation where you can actually say something like, I know, isn't that so funny? Or, oh, I'm so glad you can relate. or, thank you so much. I'm glad you found that, enjoyable too. Whatever it is, if you say something, you're opening up that dialogue, they're likely to respond. It's not going to lead immediately into, well, are you going to list your house next week? That's probably a far jump from a laughing emoji to, are you going to list your house? But you can start to build that relationship. You can start to build that opportunity to connect and stay top of mind. And it doesn't have to be pushy, not in their face. And then the next time you do a story and they reply, you can re-engage again. You start to find out, oh, they've got kids too. How many kids do you have? Oh, you've got two. Good to know. How old are they? What school do they go to? What district are you in? You're starting to get information without being pushy. They're volunteering that information in a conversation with you. The other reason this is so valuable is it really does take that conversation off the public forum. People are not as willing to be like, oh yeah, I've got two kids in high school, when you're commenting on a public post. But in the DM, they're more likely to have that conversation with you. So it gives you a safe space to really get to know that member of your audience. Other things you can do is, answering questions, providing solutions, building that opportunity for expertise when you're in that DM environment. So you can literally ask them and be like, if they're mentioning and reply to something and be like, is this something that you've struggled with? Or, you can be like, hey, if this is something you're looking for, I have a great referral. There's ways that you can start to open up that dialogue and add that level of expertise in ways that we kind of talked about yesterday, but again, bringing it into the private environment with direct messages. So the example I have over here on the right kind of gives a quick example of that. And this is where there was an outage across the API. This was a while ago, but Instagram had somehow severed the API. So no scheduling tool, no third-party tools were working. So I did a really quick little, hey, it's not you, it's them, just hang tight, they're aware of it. And I got so many messages, much like this one. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you for letting me know. Like, I thought it was me. I didn't know what was working. I'm stressing out. And so, but it opens up that opportunity for dialogue to be able to show, that you care, that you're listening. And this is great for, market news or trends in the community with home sale prices up or down or those sorts of things. You can have these little updates and people can be like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Like I've been hearing how everyone's prices are down, but it's good to know that it's maybe only this aspect or something. Being able to open up that dialogue and have those conversations really helps get those warm leads. So when it comes to your direct messages, encourage people to DM you. We've talked about that, making that your call to actions, and say, go ahead and send me a DM. And create that content on your stories that encourages people to reply, whether it's asking questions, making funny statements, relatable content that gets people to open that door to the DM. Nurture the lead and gather that information. We just talked about ways to do that. Reply to people that message you. This is key to success. So many times we get DMs and we're like, okay, and you maybe read it, but you don't reply. Like even just a thank you. Just something that acknowledges if someone is taking the time to message you, it's really important that you take the time to reply and engage with them. Personalize your responses. Use their name. You're going to see their name probably right there in the direct message. If not, you can go to the profile and get their name. And so use their name. Don't make it look like it's a canned response. Like literally personalize the message with their name, their response directly to what they were asking. It's going to give them that added level of like, oh, they're actually listening to me. They care. You can level that up by doing voice messages or video messages. Most people don't make this level of effort. And so if you can just hop on, your Instagram DM and hit the record button and record a voicemail type message where you're like, here's the answer to that question, or, oh, I'm so glad you found that, relevant as well. There's a lot going on and changing in the industry. We're going to have more information coming out next week that hopefully will be even more helpful. There's ways that you can add, that additional value, but by putting it in a voicemail, they know that you are, they can hear your voice. They know that it's you. And then it's not just a canned response. Same thing with video messages. Even if you're in your car, just pop up the video and just do a quick video message. It builds so much trust and opportunity to nurture that real lead that most of your competitors are not doing. So it's a way to just level up and really start to get those leads excited about working with you when the time is right. So this is a question that came up actually related to what we talked about yesterday, and it's a question I get all the time, so I want to talk about it here. What about Reels? Instagram is pushing Reels like crazy. They want everyone using Reels, but here's the thing. Reels are not ideal for lead generation or even traffic generation. They are not great for conversions. Some people have success with them, absolutely. But most people do not get good results when it comes to traffic and lead generation. Reels are great for that super top of level, top funnel, brand awareness, getting people seeing your content. They're great for reach. They are great for exposure, but they're not great for calls to action. When someone is watching Reels, they're literally scrolling through, they're watching that video, they're maybe learning a little something, they're being entertained. They don't want to navigate away. They're not in the mindset to be like, okay, let me go send that person a DM. I have to leave the Reels feed. I have to go over here. I have to go click over here. And they don't want to do that. So it has to be something they really, 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 really want in order to optimize that conversion. So I recommend using your Reels for that top of funnel. Use them to get people excited. Use the entertainment. Share those little tips, but don't push anything in these. Just use them for that top of funnel. Now that they're following you, now that they're engaging with you, that's where you start to get your conversions from feed and stories. Stories tend to be very good for conversions, especially for driving leads, as are feed posts. But stories probably on average more so than feed posts. So use your Reels to get the exposure. Focus on feed posts and stories for getting more of that call to action built in. And this is why we're going to want to make sure we're using all of these different pieces of content and not just focusing on just feed or just Reels. We need to really make sure that we're using all of them. All right, so now let's start talking about measuring performance. I want to dive into insights on Instagram because, as I mentioned this yesterday, you could literally do everything I tell you to do and be like, it's not working. Because if you don't know what's working for your audience and what's working for your account, everything I'm saying is just general theory. If you can take that information and be like, oh, okay, but when I do this, I'm getting this kind of results, I can see that in my insights, then you can start to optimize for that. You can create more of that content. You can do more of what works and really use all of this information to your advantage. So insights matter because you can create better content overall. I can tell you what makes a pretty picture. I can tell you how to create a fun little boomerang. I can tell you all these things, but your insights are going to tell you what your audience wants. So when they say, this is the kind of content we like, this is what gets a lot of engagement, this is what gets a lot of website clicks, you can create more like that so you can continue to get those good results. You can give your audience more value based on their needs. If you think they need A, but they're responding to B, we want to give them B. That's what they want. And if you give them what they want, they're going to stay more active. They're going to be more interactive with your content. They're going to be more receptive. They're going to be more responsive. They're going to be more likely to work with you. And it'll allow you to understand what content drives what outcomes. When I want someone to go to my website, my content is different than when I want likes. If I want likes, I'm going to generate certain types of content because I know that that is going to get more likes, but it's not going to drive anybody anywhere. If I want someone going to my website, I use different verbiage, different imagery, because that's going to get people to click. And my insights have told me what works for each. I may only have 30, 40 likes on a post. That's okay. It probably generated 80 website clicks. I would much rather have the website clicks than the likes. So that's why we want to look at our insights so we can do more of what works for the right outcome. All right, so you can follow through on this. If you want to pull open your phone, you're welcome to kind of navigate through as we go through here. Instagram does keep changing things. They keep moving buttons and making life really fun for all of us. But there are usually two places that you can get your insights. On your profile, you go to your profile, you should see an insights button. If you do not, you will see what says professional dashboard. You can click on professional dashboard and get to insights from there. Why they have to keep moving things, I don't know, but they do. Or you can go to that 3-line hamburger button up in the upper right corner. And from there, there's an option, all the menus that pop open, there's the option for get insights. Either one of those will get you to the same destination. And this is going to be your overall account insights, how your account is performing overall. Again, they start moving things around, things start to look a little bit different, but for the most part, you will see something that looks like this. It usually defaults to the last 7 days, although my content's been defaulting lately to the last 30 days, which has been great. You can go up to 90 days in reverse to see how your content is performing. So if it defaults to 7 days, you can see that option. They can even have a calendar option now, so you can choose a specific date range, so you don't have to just pick just the last 7 days. If you'd ran a campaign last week, you could choose just that week. So you can go in and look at that option. It is worth pointing out that whatever you see in these insights are up to yesterday. They do not include today. So if all of a sudden you did something today and you went viral with a reel and you got a ton of views, it's not in your insights today. You won't see that until tomorrow. So this will always show when it's like the last 7 days. It would be, if today is Wednesday, it would be from Wednesday last week to Tuesday yesterday. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to see today's insights when you jump in there. It's going to give you a quick overall performance of accounts reached, accounts engaged, and total followers. So basically your reach, your performance, and if you've grown your followers at all, those are kind of that really quick high level. You can then tap on any of those and dive deeper. If you go to the professional dashboard, you're getting the same information, but you usually get a graph before that breaks down kind of the same information, just in a graphical version before you see the stats listed out like this. And then you can see all the types of content. Now, again, in the professional dashboard, it's the same thing, but they don't have the photos. It'll just say you've had posts 4, stories 22, reels 3. It'll just list them out numerically. And then what you do is you can tap on, so where it has one post, you can see the little arrow, 12 stories, the little arrow. If you tap on that, it takes you into all of your posts, all of your stories, all of your reels, all of your promotional campaigns. So you can dive deeper into all of those performance if you tap on that little arrow to the right of each of those. All right, so what do each of those stats mean? So accounts reached. So if I go back here really quick, we had accounts reached in that middle slide, accounts reached, accounts engaged, and total followers. If you choose accounts reached, you get a page that looks like this. It's going to show you up to 90 days worth of information. It's going to show you how your content performed in terms of reach, how many followers versus non-followers saw your content. If you're trying to reach more new people, Reels are going to help you achieve that. Like I said, they are great for reach and distribution. Then you can start to see the breakdowns. You can see the content reach. You can see followers are the light blue, non-followers are the dark blue. So Reels were almost a 50-50 split, whereas posts were probably about a 70-30. And then my stories, it was like 98% of followers, 2% non-followers. Totally normal. That's very normal. Most stories are only going to be seen by your existing followers. That's nurturing your existing audience. Reels is helping you reach new people. So you want to keep this in mind in terms of, what you're doing when you're creating content, what your goals are. In terms of, are you trying to reach more non-followers? Are you trying to nurture your existing audience and that sort of thing? It's worth pointing out there's 2 numbers that get very confusing. They don't really display on this screen. This does scroll down a little bit further. Reach is the number of accounts, the number of people that saw your post. Impressions is how many times a post was seen. The same thing goes if you go into a reel and you look at views versus reach. Reach is how many people saw it. Views is how many times it was seen. So this gets confusing. Impressions should always be higher. And so you might have reached 100 people, but your impressions is 150. That means people saw it an average of 1.5 times. That means a bunch of people saw it more than once. So the higher that disparity, the more impressions than there are reach, means the more that people are seeing it multiple times. Probably means a lot of shares, a lot of saves, which means high quality content. If those impressions are up, people are coming back to watch it multiple times. That's a good indication of high quality content that is resonating with your audience. You can also dive deeper into things related to profile activity, like how many people navigated to your profile, how many people clicked on your link in bio, action buttons. You can get all of that information as well to be able to see, again, what types of posts are generating what type of results, or how much you're generating in a certain week or a certain time period. So again, if you had a campaign going, did you have more link clicks than usual and your call to action was to click on that link in bio, then you know that that was working. Engagement, so that's if we'd gone back to the main insights page, then you choose the engagement option. This is going to show you again how people are interacting with your content. So breaking it down by followers and non-followers. Yes, your followers are typically more likely to follow through with some sort of engagement. They're more likely to respond with those likes, comments, shares, saves, all that sort of stuff. But you can also break it down. If you want to go deeper, you can get into the age ranges, gender, locations, and that'll give you all that information as well. So you'll see it's, mostly females, or mostly men, or mostly those in, a specific, like I get a lot of people in San Diego interacting with my content because I do a lot of stories with location tags for San Diego. So that tends to boost my San Diego performance. So you can get that kind of information out of here as well. And then you can break it down by type of content. So your feed, your stories, your reels, it'll start to show you all that as well. But you can see, so this is top of, level overall engagement for the last 7 days. So it's showing I had 52 likes, 3 comments, 6 saves, 8 shares in that specific time period across all of my content. So if I'd done more, if I had more reels, if I had more stories, you would see those numbers fluctuate. And again, that's across all of your content. So I had a total of 429 content interactions for that week across all of my content. But then breaking it down, I had post interactions of 71. So those 429, 71 came from posts. This screen scrolls further down. I probably had a lot more from reels, that sort of thing. All right, so then the next option, go back to the main insights page, you choose that audience and followers information, what's going on with them, who they are, where they're located. Again, you can break down all of this information. You can see your follower growth. You'll see your total follower count. You'll see this little graph. If you tap on that graph, where right now it's got like the big spike, I'd obviously done a speaking event that day and got a bunch of followers that day. Normally, I don't have that much growth in a single day. But you can, if you tap on that, it will also show you the follows and unfollows. It's totally normal. Like I just looked at my stats for the last month and it was like, I gained 180 and I lost 168. So I gained like 12 followers total in a month. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. But that's totally normal. Reels followers tend to be really finicky. They will follow you and unfollow you if they don't like your next reel. Don't get upset. It's okay. It's just how people behave on the platform. You might also get a lot of spam followers or people trying to do the follow for follow tactic. And if you don't follow them back, they're going to unfollow you. Totally fine. You don't want them in the first place. But it's okay if you see those follower numbers a little bit higher. It's totally normal to see those types of fluctuations. And then you can scroll down further. And you can go, like I said, break it down by, gender, by age, by location. And if you go down even further, you can just see at the bottom of that middle slide, you can actually see active times by hour of the day and day of the week. I don't really care about hours of the days. That doesn't really matter. Algorithmically, they're going to see your content, but you do want to be aware of days. And it will tell you by looking at that chart if there's certain days of the week that your audience is more active. If your audience is really active on Saturdays and Sundays, you should be posting on Saturdays and Sundays or Friday and Saturday. Don't think that you're like, I have to only post during the weekdays because that's when my audience is online. Your audience insights will actually tell you when your audience is active. And you may find Tuesdays are the really busy day. Great. Post Monday night or Tuesday morning so that you get that momentum and that traffic when they are more likely to be active on the platform. Like I said, the hour of the day doesn't matter so much, but the day of the week is a good thing to focus on. All right, so now let's talk about individual posts. That, like I said, was your account information in general. Now you can go into any one of your posts and get additional insight on that individual post performance. So you can access this from any post that you've uploaded since becoming a business or creator profile. So if you should already be a business or creator profile. If you just upgraded like last week, you're only have insights for content for the last week. You won't go backdated, but as long as you've been a business or creator profile, you can grab those insights. You'll get detailed information, whether it's a story, a reel, or a feed post on the overall performance, its reach, engagement, all these different pieces of data. So let's take a look really quickly at what that looks like. So here is 3 different pieces of content. You've got a story, a reel, and a feed post. So on your Instagram stories in that lower left corner, you usually see the word activity. You might see some people's faces. That's where you go to get your individual insights. On a reel, you have to be in the reel, not in your grid where you see the reel, but you have to go into the reel. And then you see this little 3-dot button over on the right-hand side that's totally hidden. Yeah, That's where the insights are. On a feed post, a normal feed post, right underneath the photo or the video, it will say view insights, and you can tap on that. When you tap on any three of those, this is what you get for each one. So the image on the left, that's your stories. You tap in that lower left corner, you're going to see this type of screen. So you have the little bar graph and you have the eyeball. The eyeball with where it says 174. If I tap on that, will show me everyone that's seen that story. It's good to know, but that's not the important information. The important information is under the bar graph icon. And then again, this is, you can scroll all the way down, but it will tell you how many accounts you reached, how many people engaged, the profile activity. It'll say, did they tap back? Did they exit? Did they tap on stickers? Did they, follow through to your website, that sort of stuff. So you can get all of those metrics out of there to see how that type of content is performing. You want to start to look at benchmarks, like what's your average views on a story? Is your average view 100, 1,000? If one gets way more than usual, why? Way less than usual, why? Those are things you want to start looking at. On your reels, when you tap that little 3-dot button hidden on the right-hand side, you get a screen that looks like this. So you will see the cover of the reel, and then you will see the plays, how many times that video was played, which will be more than your reach, how many likes, how many comments, how many shares, and how many saves. So you may get a ton of views, but not a lot of other things. You may not get a ton of views, but a ton of likes and comments. My current reel that I have, I just posted last night, has a decent number of views. It's not exponential. It's not one of my best by any means, but it's doing really well. But it is crazy with engagement. Likes and comments are through the roof, way more than I would normally get. And even shares and saves are really high. So that's telling me it's high quality content. It's not just getting a lot of views. The views are getting a lot of engagement. And that's all very positive ranking in terms of the type of engagement, the shares and the saves. That means people find it highly valuable. They're sharing it. They're saving it to come back and watch it again later. That's a good indication of a good reel. That's telling me, okay, that was a hot topic, which to be honest, it's how to train the algorithm is the topic of the reel. I was like, didn't see that one coming. I really didn't think it was going to be that big of a response. But that's what my insights allow me to see. So when you're creating these reels, pay attention to what kind of those benchmarks are. If you've only done 2 reels, you don't really have a benchmark. You've got to wait until you have 6, 7, 8 reels out there that you can start to see what is a normal view rate, what is a normal engagement rate. Then you can start to dive a little bit deeper into understanding what works, what type of reel, whether you're on camera, off camera, whether it's, do you have a certain way of starting the video? We talked about some of the hooks and things you should focus on yesterday. Is it the length of the video? Is it, the topic of the video? You can start to figure that out as you get more reels and figure out those benchmarks. On the feed post, when you click that view insights, you get a screen that looks like this, that again has your likes, comments, shares, and saves. And then it will go down and it will again break all that information out in terms of overall reach for that post. Again, how many people navigated to your website clicks, all that kind of stuff is going to be documented in there as well. So these 3 slides, this is what matters. This is what tells you what your audience wants, because you could put up a post and be like, hey, go click the link in bio, and you only generated 2 clicks. So they weren't interested in that. Or was the reach really low and you just didn't get enough people seeing it to even see the call to action? You might have something that has a ton of likes, but not a lot of calls to action. Did you have a call to action? If so, why weren't they following through? Why weren't they doing the link click? Or you do something with a call to action and it has a great, kind of ratio in terms of those link clicks or that follow through. So that starts to tell you what's working. You can start to determine what works for visuals. You will notice on my content, it is a lot of my face and a lot of me doing this. Both the ones on here, it's me pointing. And it's because it works. It's one of those things that I test it out, I do it, and it works. So I keep doing it again, even though all my content starts to look exactly the same. But when I do it and it shows up in the feed, it works. It drives the results I'm asking for. So I do more of it. And as long as people are engaging with it and giving me the results I want, that's the content I'm creating, even though it's not what I want to create. I do not want my face and that much content. I swear I really don't. But my data tells me that that's what's working. All right, so what metrics matter most when it comes to your Instagram insights? For me, it's reach and impressions. We talked about the fact that Instagram is a one-to-one relationship, that it's not a popularity contest like Facebook. And so if you are getting the reach, if your average reach on a post is 2,000 people and a post gets a reach of 5,000, that's an outlier. Why? Why did that post get so much more? That got in front of so many more people. Was it highly shareable content? Was it super relevant, timely, seasonal content? Was it something news related? What was it that made that post exponentially higher in terms of that reach and impression? If you have a normal reach of 2,000 and that post reached 2,500, but you had 6,000 impressions, meaning everyone saw it 2 or 3 times, why? What was so valuable about that they came back and watched it or read it multiple times? So that starts to tell you how your content is performing individually. Likes and comments, they're fluff. They don't mean that much. Like I said, I can have 30 likes on a post, but drive 80 website clicks and drive actual revenue. That I care about. The likes don't matter on that. The website clicks do. And if I get the reach, I'm more likely to get those website clicks. If my reach is going down, if my reach is constantly in decline, it means people aren't seeing my content. It means it's probably not performing well, and people are starting to ignore my content, and my content is pushing lower in the feed. We talked about that algorithm sort a little bit yesterday. So you want to make sure that you're managing your reach and impressions. To me, that is the most valuable insight in terms of how your overall content is performing and the best indication of what your top content is when you are looking at what matters for your account. Other metrics to consider is things like hashtag performance. Now, there isn't a lot of things you can do to independently measure hashtags. There are some tools out there that will help give you some insight. I'm a brand ambassador for Agorapulse. It's a third-party scheduling tool that I love. And they do have a hashtag monitor in there, but it doesn't monitor individual hashtags. It'll just tell you, and I use the same hashtags every time, so it doesn't really work for me in the same way, but if you're mixing up your hashtags, it will start to show you the posts that use this hashtag tend to have the most engagement. So you can start to figure out how that's helping determine your post performance. But again, if you're getting a lot of reach to non-followers, it could be coming from things like hashtags if it's on your feed and on your reels as well. You want to look at direct message conversations where there is zero metric anywhere on Instagram that tells us anything about direct messages. We don't know how many direct messages were initiated from a post, any of that kind of stuff, but you can kind of track that. And that's something where, again, now it's not just a vanity metric of that like, comment, share type thing. This is actual conversations. And you can start to be like, okay, well, we had 10 direct messages initiated this week, 2 of which resulted in someone going to our website and signing up for this, or, having them complete this opt-in or this survey. So you can start to track what is working internally with your direct messages. Sales or conversions from direct messages, similar to what I just said. Sales from coupon codes. Now, you're probably not really offering coupon codes in the real estate space, but if you're doing something with either Bitly links, or if you're offering something where it's like, hey, get this free download, do something where you can track it exclusively on Instagram. Meaning, don't use the same link across all your social media, across your email campaigns, because then you don't know which ones are generating those conversions. So if you use like a Bitly link, or if you use something with a UTM code, or you use something with an independent code, a track on it, that when someone completed that link click or inputted that reference code, that they came from Instagram. And you can start to be like, okay, so Instagram generated, 10 of these, Facebook generated 20, or Facebook generated 2, and Instagram generated 15. You can start to look and see how they're performing and where you should be putting that effort into those different types of calls to action. And then looking at your action button conversions as well. Those are the buttons on your profile for things like email, call, text, that sort of thing. You can get those insights in your profile as well. And look and see, how many emails did you generate that week? How many website clicks did you generate that week? That starts to give you all that added insight, again, for that lead generation, how your content is performing, how you're actually getting people from Instagram over into your email list, onto your website, any of that sort of stuff. And this is why I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but this is why you need all the different types of content, right? So you need engagement driving content. You need things as behind the scenes, your family posts, your, totally relatable, just mom content, work content, it's Monday, those sorts of things. You need engagement driving content because that keeps your content higher in the feed. Then when you have that action driving content to fuel your business goals, to actually get them where you want them to go, they're more likely to see it, and they're more likely to follow through because they've learned to build a relationship with you. They've learned to trust you. They learn that you have high quality content, and you cannot have one without the other. If all you're doing is pushing calls to action and business goals, and here's a home listing, here's a home listing, here's an open house, if they're not in the mood to buy, if they're not ready to sell, if they're not in that time of space, they're going to start ignoring your content, which means when they are ready, your content is so far down in their feed, they're not seeing it, which means they're not going to work with you. So the engagement content keeps it up, right? It keeps your content active top of feed so that when they are ready, whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, you're still actively in their feed and they've started to build that relationship with you and they're ready to work with you as their real estate professional. Now, that being said, things keep changing. So Instagram has been evolving a lot. It's been keeping us on our toes very, very distinctly this year. There's been a lot going on. So some things you want to keep in mind when it comes to Instagram. Right now, engagement is down across the board. Engagement is down. If you feel like it's not working, if you feel like your engagement is down, I promise you, you're not alone. In 2020, average engagement on Instagram was 2.5%. That means likes and comments divided by total followers. So if you had 100 followers and you had 10, likes and comments, you'd have a 10% engagement rate. The average was 2.5%. Today, it's basically 1%, 0.98%. And the reason why is because in the pandemic, the early pandemic stage or pre-pandemic, so we had a baseline, right? We knew how many, how many likes we were going to get. We had a good engagement rate. That was pre-pandemic. Then we entered the pandemic stage, and all of a sudden brands had no other way to get in front of their audience except for social media. So we had way more brands creating content. But similarly, we had all these people sitting at home, not going to work. So we had all this extra consumption. People were consuming way more content on Instagram and all social media. But what happened was the pandemic started to come to a close. So you still have the brands over here creating all this content. They've gotten used to it. For the last 2.5 years, they've been creating all this content. They now have a content strategy and they're doing it. But over here, the consumers have gone back to work. They've gone back to school. They've gone back to being busy, and they're not on there consuming as much content. But we have more content still being consumed. So we have this new baseline. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that anything is, detrimentally, failing. Instagram still works. We just have a new baseline. And then we have the push for reels. Instagram has been pushing reels, and they're getting that content out there, which has also decreased the reach and performance of things like feed posts. I used to reach 5,000 people with a feed post. Now I'm lucky to reach 2,000 because Instagram is pushing reels. They have different ways that they're trying to get content out there. So that has an impact on performance as well. Again, it's not you. Things are just evolving. They keep changing. But I promise you, Instagram still works, and it's still a very valuable tool in the real estate space. If you are taking the time to learn what works for your audience, review those insights, start figuring out what they want more of, give them more of that, and then keep pushing with that variety of content, get those high quality visuals that we talked about yesterday. To really succeed as a realtor on Instagram, you want to do these things. You want to build that community first. We've talked a lot about fostering those relationships and building that opportunity for dialogue. You want to build that community. We want to create that content that is relevant to your audience. Again, look at those insights. What do they want? If they want cute, fluffy dog pictures, give them cute, fluffy dog pictures. Mix up your content and your calls to action. Use your reels, your stories, your feed posts. Mix up those calls to action, not just always be the link in bio. And then ultimately, have fun. It is super important that you're actually having fun with your content, because most people on Instagram are there to have fun. They want to be entertained. Yes, they do want to learn as well, but a lot of times they just want some of that fun content. And when you're having fun, that comes through with your content. People are more likely to respond to it. So make sure you include that fun factor when you're looking at your strategy. As a quick thank you again for being with us for the last couple of days. I've talked a lot about, how to connect with me around the web on Instagram. I'm at JNNS_trends. I also have my free Facebook group, which we've talked about. But if you do want to learn more, if you want to find out how to stay on top of all things Instagram, you can join my membership program, which is Profit Your Profile. We do 4 live training sessions every month. We have one where we just recap all the updates from the month before. In September, we had 10 updates to Instagram. So we break down all those, what they mean for you strategically. You have a training with me, and then you always have a guest training every month as well. This month, we're talking influencer marketing. So I did a training, and the next week we have the head of strategic partnerships for Agorapulse coming in to teach. We've had people from Microsoft, we've had a celebrity chef, we've had some great people, lawyers, photographers come in and do guest training on not just Instagram, but business stuff in general. And if you want to use the coupon code October, that will get you a discount to be able to join the membership at an even better rate. So if you want to keep learning all things Instagram, you can absolutely go check that out. And again, you can join anything else, either the newsletter or the Facebook group, if you just want to stay on top of everything else that I'm always sharing. All right, so I'm going to leave this up here for a hot second and just pop open the chat so we can see if any questions have come in. As a quick reminder, I think Elsie dropped it in the chat. You will be getting a survey follow-up. You will get copies of these slides and the replay video, as well as the survey. So if you get a chance to fill out that survey, give them your feedback, but also give me your feedback. Let me know what you thought of the sessions and if they were helpful, valuable. If there's anything else you would like to learn in the future, that would be some great feedback. Okay, so we had, just a reminder to fill out the survey, and the recording will be coming up. I'll just give us a quick second here if anybody has any questions for those of you who are here with us live, feel free to drop those in the chat. And otherwise, we will wrap this up here in just a moment if no questions pop in. So thank you so much to all of you. Again, if you haven't watched the first 2 sessions, make sure you go back and watch those. All of these sessions were meant to build on one another so that you get the most out of all of this training and that you can really optimize your Instagram strategy going forward. Kimberly popped in and said, how do I create my Instagram name again? Also, I have not received emails with the recap slides. I know that they were saying yesterday's was not done yet, Kimberly. So you just stay tuned. My guess is they'll have those to you later this week, but Elsie can answer more on that. For your Instagram name, so there's a username and a name, and that we covered all of that on Monday's session. But if you go to your profile, log into Instagram and go to the profile. It's your little profile icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and go to edit profile. You can change anything in there. You can change the name field, which is the bold text right below your profile photo. You can change that anytime you want to anything you want. You can add that. You can add keywords or relevant terms or seasonal things or whatever you want to put in there. I would recommend you have something related to realtor or real estate or the geographical area in which you serve. So you probably don't serve all of Orange County. You probably have an area that you specialize in. So whatever that area is, whether you're talking, are you in more of the beach communities, or are you, more inland, are you, kind of north side of Orange County, or a very specific community within one of the various cities. So, you can put those kind of keywords in there so people know where it is that they can find you. So you can change the name field anytime you want. The username is something that once you've set it up, you probably don't want to change it because it does create Instagram.com/your username. So if you change the username, you lose that previous URL that links to anywhere. But you can change your username if you want to. Just keep in mind, if you change it, you probably can't go back to the one that it was before. So it's kind of finicky in how they kind of lock out a username once it's been used. They don't want anyone else to get it. And when it comes to your username, things to keep in mind would be, make it as easy to read as possible. Use dots or underscores to break up your name. For example, if I had, have Jen Herman and I have 2 N's in my name, it looks kind of confusing because then they're like, is it Jen? Is it Jen Her? People start to not know where the break in the name is. So putting a dot or an underscore can break that out and make it a little bit easier just so people know exactly who you are. And you are known by your username. So we do want to make sure that that's brand relevant, whether it's your name or your agency name or something like that. So hopefully that helped answer that question for you, Kimberly. We are pretty much at the top of the hour. I haven't seen any other questions pop in. So I'm going to thank all of you on the replay as well. Thank everybody for listening in. I hope you found these 3 sessions super valuable on your Instagram journey. And I hope that you all have wonderful success using Instagram for your business and to generate those relationships and those leads and get you more opportunity for buyers and sellers. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you this week, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.